Alright, what's going on, guys? 2023 has been an incredible year for gaming. Not only for us From Software fans with the success of Armored Core 6, but also across the entire gaming industry as a whole, making it incredibly tough to decide what is going to win Game of the Year with so many fantastic releases throughout the calendar. And it may even be pointing to a trend that gaming as a whole is just getting better. But today I want to focus on one genre specifically, that being Souls-likes. So as we get started today, if you enjoy all things Soulsborne, Souls-like, and From Software, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and now let's get into it. It's not exactly a secret to anybody that the Soulsborne franchise has essentially created an entire new genre of video games. Third-person action RPGs that specialize in responsive combat, brutally tough boss battles, and cryptic storytelling that requires the player to go out of their way to figure it out. And this genre has been appropriately named Souls-like, with many games trying to replicate the magic of From Software main titles. But the genre as a whole has not done well, and had many of its own problems, with arguably the majority of Souls-likes that have come out over the past few years, doing very badly according to critics and players alike. Games like the 2014 Lords of the Fallen, Mortal Shell, and Code Vein represent a widespread of games that have tried, and mostly failed, to stick with the Soulsborne audience. However, there have been some outliers, such as Nioh 2, and Remnant from the Ashes, that were very positively received by that same base. But none of these have really held a candle in major comparison to pretty much any of From Software's mainline titles. But now that appears to be changing. The pendulum swinging in the other direction, because Souls-likes appear to be getting better and better as time goes on. Wo Long Fallen Dynasty and Remnant 2 have been standout hits not only among Soulsborne fans, but across the gaming industry this last year, and that trend is only continuing, because we have even more Souls-likes coming out throughout the next year that look absolutely amazing, and I want to highlight three of them today: Lies of P, the new Lords of the Fallen, and Black Myth Wukong. These are games that legitimately give From Software some competition, two of which I've played and left feeling utterly impressed, and we'll break these down in order of the release date, starting with Lies of P. Lies of P is a Souls-like set in an alternate retelling of the Pinocchio story, and it's developed by a studio called Neowiz. Now, a while ago, they released a playable demo to the public, and in that demo we got to play the first 3 levels of the game, and fight 3 bosses. And one of the things I could tell about this game immediately after picking it up was that it felt more like a Souls game than any Souls-like I'd played before. I was able to instantly pick it up and recognize how it was going to function. It's a combination of the combat style of Bloodborne and Sekiro, with the Bloodborne dodge and roll system, as well as a parry that can be used on most weapons to deflect attacks. There are also many new innovations to the combat system, such as a Legion arm, which is a mechanical appendage the player has, and can be outfitted with many different weapon types that you can acquire throughout the game. Now, I made a video during that time breaking down my experience with the demo, so I'm not going to go too deep on the mechanical side of things here, but even though the game feels like it was made from the ground up with Bloodborne in mind, it does so many unique things that bring a fresh spin on the genre that while I was playing it, I was able to forget about all the Bloodborne similarities, and that was mainly because the story kind of hooked me. I really didn't think I was going to like the setting of this game, but I found myself very curious about the aspects of us as a puppet and the ability to make decisions in the story through lies. There was a lot here, and enough to definitely pique my interest, where I will definitely be diving into the lore when the game fully releases. And speaking of that, at the time of me recording it, early reviews have now gone live, and the game is sitting at a comfortable 83 on Metacritic, which is surprisingly very high for a Souls-like game, and most other critics are hovering around the 8 out of 10 mark, and that is likely primarily due to the developers taking as much feedback as possible from the demo and working to iron out those game's hiccups before the game launches in under a week. And honestly, every complaint I had about the demo was directly addressed by the developers and likely has since changed, such as the character being a bit slow, the dodge having very short distance, and enemy poise being relatively too high. And I talked to some people that are hands-on with the game, and those are not issues they're reporting. So I will be playing it for sure on release day, because it's probably the closest thing to a Bloodborne remaster that we're never going to get. Now let's switch gears for a minute and talk Lords of the Fallen. Where Lies of P feels like it reaches to replicate Bloodborne, Lords of the Fallen is a step back into the original Dark Souls games. And I say step back in a good way, because it takes all the best parts of the original Dark Souls trilogy and builds around those fundamentals. Now, I had the opportunity to get flown out to LA and go play this game for about 3 hours, as well as interview the developers, and I recorded my impressions and thoughts in this video here. So again, I'm not going to get too heavy on the mechanics side of things, but do not mistake this game for its 2014 predecessor. This Lords of the Fallen is a complete reboot under a new team made by people that are themselves big fans of the Souls series, and that can really be felt when you get hands-on. This game is a full RPG with a custom character creator and a Dark Souls 1 style world to explore. However, this world is split into two, with the light world of Axiom and a dark world of Umbral, and that's where the game really sets itself aside from others of the genre. The creative exploration here was addicting. Now, while the game still does kind of have its bit of clunkiness to it, and the best way for me to describe it was something between Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 in terms of movement, like Lies of P, I instantly felt at home as a Souls fan. Now, where Lies of P captured me with its story, Lords of the Fallen really made me addicted to the exploration and the RPG elements. I cannot wait to play more of this game. The art style is awesome, the graphics are incredibly good, so good in fact that it makes me concerned for how the game is going to run on console. Now, I got to play on PC and I had a stable frame rate the entire time, but I will be very impressed if that's kept up on console. However, that remains to be seen. This game also does a lot of things that Souls fans will really enjoy, such as seamless co-op, invasions and PvP are confirmed, and the boss fights were absolutely awesome. And this is probably the closest thing to Dark Souls 4 that we'll never get. So for me, like Lies of P, this is a day one pickup. I really need to play more of this game. October 13th cannot come fast enough. But if Lies of P is Bloodborne, Lords of the Fallen is Dark Souls, then Black Myth Wukong is Sekiro. This is a Souls-like that is a retelling of the story of Journey to the West, where you play as the Destined One, adventuring through a world of Chinese mythology. Now, I've been keeping up with this game for a while, ever since it was announced several years ago, and as time goes on, it only looks better and better. Combat in this game revolves around your bow staff. It's the only weapon you'll have throughout your journey, but you can build off of it through many powers, including the power of shape-shifting. The combat in this game looks like it has a ton of depth to it. However, we can see that the deflect system and dodge are very heavy as well. We've gotten to see quite a few boss fights, and recently at Gamescom, several journalists got to get hands-on with the game, and the general perception among them was that they were stunned at how good the game felt to play. Like Lords of the Fallen, the graphics here are incredibly good, but according to the playtesters, the performance was stable. Now, this game just has such a unique feel to it. It really does look like an incredible journey. Now, of course, everything looks great, but until we actually get to play the game, we can't really say for sure. But I do have to admit the trailers and demo gameplay are some of the best I've ever seen. Now, Black Myth Wukong doesn't currently have a date it's set to go live, but it is listed as a 2024 release, so this is definitely one you're going to want to keep your eye on. To really wrap these games up under one big statement, I think it is amazing that we're finally getting good Souls-likes. Of course, From Software is still king. It is still going to be a long time before any other company is able to match their quality, but competition breeds innovation, and in the end, it just means that we're going to be getting better games all around. But I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts. Out of the 3 games we highlighted today, which one are you most excited for? Personally, I'll be playing all 3, and I know it's a cop-out, but I really am excited for every single one of them. Either way though, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here. And with all that, I will catch you in the next one.